Hi, I'm your host, Jürgen Strauss from Innova.buzz, and I'm really excited to welcome today to the Innova.buzz podcast from Bucharest in Romania, Valentin Radu. Valentin's a visionary entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of OmniConvert, a company dedicated to revolutionizing the way businesses engage with their customers through customer value optimization. So, welcome to the Innova.buzz podcast, Valentin. It's a privilege to speak with you today and have you as my guest.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Jurgen, and hello everyone from here, from Bucharest. Excited to be here.
Yeah. I think you might be my first guest from Bucharest, from Romania. So that's exciting.
Yeah, so my job is harder now. I have to represent the entire city, right?
Excellent. Yes. So, Valentin, you're here to share your insights into maximizing customer lifetime value and improving customer experiences, both things that I'm very passionate about. And also, one thing that you're really strong on, which is the art of turning data into actionable business strategies. So, I'm really looking forward to digging into that some more. But before we do that, you've had an interesting journey from DJing at radio stations to pioneering customer value optimization. So, what impact do you aim to make in the world today with all of your background and your focus and passion today?
Yeah, that's an interesting question to answer to. So my vision is that I've been struggling as an entrepreneur, so I felt this burden on my own skin, and I think that companies shouldn't be suffering and customers shouldn't be suffering. So I discovered that in order to get the value, to extract the value from the market, you need to understand how to provide the right value to your customers. And basically, in this period in my life, I want to, let's say, provide the means and the methodologies to have companies become customer centric, but also profitable, because this shouldn't be excluded.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. The idea of one excluding the other is crazy, and yet um, a lot of people take the approach that profit comes first, and then they end up excluding the view of the customer, or at least the kind of focus on the customer, right?
Yeah. So I have a story to share about excluding this. I've been many years ago. I've been to Rio with my wife and my kids, and we were buying this fresh juice made with some berries called acai, and they were
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, very very tasty. Never got them before, and there were uh, two people selling. I mean, the same store, the same product. It's just that one morning was one lady, another morning was another lady. So at some point we've decided not to buy it anymore because that lady was so sour, and I at the end of our trip there, I asked the one which was really customer centric. She was there. She was really smiling, and it was a very pleasant experience. And I asked her why her colleague is not like that, and she said, "You know what? We're not gonna see you again." And she feels like it doesn't matter because customer come anyway. It was in a spot where there were mainly tourists which were buying that, and I think it's bad for the business, of course, and
Mm.
it's also bad for yourself if you don't provide value while you are living. I mean, if you are living and you are making something and you've decided that you have this job, you have this career, you have this company, you need to also feel good about it. And
Yeah.
it's so simple to smile. It's so simple to do that small extra mile, and to have a pleasant life at the end of the day, because life happens right now, not in the future when we'll all be wealthy and filthy rich on our yachts. Life happens right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, a friendly word or a friendly demeanor and a smile is so easy, right? It doesn't cost a lot of energy, doesn't cost any money, doesn't cost any time.
Yeah, and you can do this
Mm.
in the digital space as well. You can do it with your
Yeah.
customers. You can do this kind of strategy. You can orchestrate this type of small positive strokes to give to your to the customers, depending on how, no matter how big and small or small is your company. You can orchestrate this because at the end of the day we're human beings, and what we're buying is a pleasant state. I mean, we are buying a better
mm,
future, whatever we are buying. Whatever we are trying to fix, whatever the needs we have, we're buying a better state, and that state can be can be improved with a small nudge.
Yeah, I was having a conversation this morning on the podcast, and the concept that we were delving into was differentiation, how to be different and how to be better than your competition primarily, and doing that through innovation. And one of the key points that my guest was making, it's Daniel Den, was that it's about the experience. That's where you can differentiate your product or your service from all the other products or services that might deliver the same outcomes, but they won't deliver the same experience. And so, if you focus on that experience, that's your competitive advantage.
Yeah, actually, in this customer value optimization framework that I applied in the last 7 years already, uh, we have three pillars of customer value optimization. So in order to improve the customer lifetime value, you have these three pillars, and that's it. You have what you sell, which are the products or services that you're providing, what you do, which is customer experience, and what you say, which means marketing, messaging, attracting customers, promising a better future, and whatever. But nowadays, when we have so many competitors providing the same freaking things, I mean, anything, you can find pretty much an alternative to whatever you're trying to buy, then that means if you have the right product, given the fact that the product is good or the services are good, if you can acquire customers with marketing, then differentiating yourself means having an outstanding customer experience, which diminishes the customer acquisition cost, because you have this flywheel of growth. If you acquire customers and you get the right feedback from them, and you collect that feedback and you pay attention to what they are saying, and they feel good about sharing that, then you can improve your products, improve the experience, and that means you have customer coming back to buy again, lower customer acquisition cost, and you have customers becoming advocates for your business, which means word of mouth through the network effect, which means lower customer acquisition cost. And at the end of the day, that's how profit happens. So it all starts with happy customers.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very compelling argument, and you talk about customer value optimization, and I'm not sure whether that is your definition, what you've just explained, but for those that may not have heard the term before, it's kind of, there's a lot of these terms like customer value optimization, and then we'll talk about lifetime value in a moment. But can you give us a bit of a definition of that term?
Yeah, sure. So it's the customer value optimization is the conscious process that a company is going through in order to increase the customer lifetime value, right? So basically to make sure that you get the right value and the customers get the right value. And that has two sides, and that's heavily dependent on customer research, on segmenting your customers, on identifying what products or services are the best ones, on identifying uh, let's say, the job to be done by the customer, right? So there is an entire methodology about it, but basically that's the definition. The process to optimize the customer lifetime value, it's called customer value optimization.
Hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. And customer lifetime value is something that I've talked about quite a lot. And I was prompted, and this goes back almost 10 years now, and might even be longer than that, where I wrote a blog post about an absolutely terrible experience I had stopping for a cup of coffee with some friends when we were out bike riding. And I won't go into the details of the experience because it's kind of a bit of a backstory, but the what I went away with, we ultimately left that place and didn't and got our money back. And I said, well, for a $5 cup of coffee, and yes, there were three of us, so that was $15. You might argue that, well, it's not much business. A little bit like the lady in the at chai shop, that, well, we're never going to come back. It's not much business, $15. And I said, well, that's not the right way to look at it, because we ride that route almost every day. On that day, there are only three of us, but our group of cyclists, there could be anything up to 30 or 40 of us on a bright sunny day when the weather's fine. And so if you look at that, well, now you're talking not three times $5, but 30 times $5. So that's looking a lot more attractive. And if you've got that every day, let's say 5 days a week, to we might have some rest days. So now you're looking at 150 by five, whatever that works, 750 or whatever it works out to be.
Yeah,
And so then we've got okay, it's still a small business, but now take that every year, every week for the whole year, because if we like the place, we tend to stick to the same one.
yeah,
And now consider that every couple of months we decide, we don't get to chat much on the bike. Let's go out for dinner together, and why don't we bring our partners? So now all of a sudden there's 60 people coming for dinner, and if that cafe gives us a great experience when we have our coffee, it's probably going to be front of mind when we think about a place to go to eat. So
yeah,
now all of a sudden it's starting to develop into big business, and
yeah.
then take it forward over the years.
That's right. So, Jurgen, you've just underlined a very important principle from my book, which is about the residual CLV. You know, the
Mm,
residual customer lifetime value, because we tend to look at only at the customer and not their network effect. But we have
mm,
detractors. We've stayed no more. I don't want to go here, and then okay,
yeah.
Jurgen doesn't want to go here. Let's go to the next one. And that means if you have this large social footprint, that then you can either be a detractor or you can be a
Mm,
promoter. So if you're a promoter, that means your CLV is way higher. And there are these hiccups that the companies are doing. They can't understand how much they can generate through their existing customers. It's mind-boggling how much they ignore this, because they have this mechanicist way to look at growth. We pay the gods of Meta or Google Ads or whatever, we pay our tribute, and then they give us the customers. No, those customers can be yours, and they can bring more customers, and that's the network effect. So if you don't measure that, if you don't measure customer lifetime value and residual customer lifetime value, which can be measured, by the way, then you are not measuring what matters, because CLV means future profit per customer. That's it. And
mm,
the entire company's profit is not made from other things like these small drops. Like the ocean is made of small drops. So basically you have the profitability. If you are profitable at any given customer, then you can scale your business. Or if you don't want a huge empire, at least you can find the optimal way to
yeah.
have a lifestyle business. You understand, okay, I don't want 2000 bikers in my coffee shop, but I want 50 per day. I want to hang out with them, I want to have a good time, but I know that they are coming each and every, I don't know, week, every 2 days, and whatever.
Mm. Yeah, so that's fascinating. You talked a little bit there about data, and it's important to know the customer lifetime value and measuring that. So, talk to us a little bit about the importance of data in terms of how do we collect it? What's the key data that we should be collecting, and how do we draw some insights from that?
Yeah. So if we are talking about companies that have known customers, because was this transition from unknown strangers to known customers and now to addressable customers. We have this thing in the EU, GDPR, you have it there in Australia, there is the CDPA Act in California. So there is pretty much everywhere. You need to have this consent so that you can address your customers. But if you think about the fact that you don't want unknown strangers to be your customers, you want to know them, you want to track their purchases, because being able to look at what they are buying allows you to understand the anomalies in their customer data, because there are some hidden gems maybe in your product portfolio, or you have some toxic products. You have products that are churning your customers, and you have products which are making your customers way more valuable. Yeah. And then if you also have addressable customers, so if you, let's say, persuaded them to allow communication, commercial communication for with them, that means you can leverage them. You can come up with a game plan so that you are relevant in the customer throughout the customer journey. So if they've bought this product or this category, then they are after this job to be done, and that means the onboarding will look differently. Now, depending on the business model that we are looking at, in the digital landscape, it's easier. But now, even in the retail stores, in bricks and mortar, it's easier as well. With the software products, it's pretty much way more easier because you have all your customers are being known. So collecting data and making sure that you are tracking things like how many of our total sales are coming from known customers, that's an important metric, because that means you
mm,
can look at the patterns and the anomalies. And then from the total known customers, how many of them are addressable? And we can talk to them without them, I don't know, calling the authorities that we haven't got their consent.
yeah, yeah. That's very insightful. Now, one of the things that struck me as you're explaining that is in the online space, there's a lot that can be done to kind of track that. Do you sort of combine that with journey mapping?
Yeah.
Because a lot of those key points are along the customer journey, and if you do, um, I'm curious as to your view of how do you take that journey mapping exercise and apply it to, say, a business that isn't doesn't sell online. I mean, most businesses are online these days, but a business whose marketing is online, but their sales, their transactional stuff is actually
Yeah, yeah.
not online.
So for that, the best advice that I have for orchestrating a better customer journey is to make sure that you have some kind of a loyalty program, whatever, and not in particular to incentivize, because there are many loyalty programs which are broken, which doesn't make sense economically, which are providing poor incentives to make customers come back. But the first and the most important aspect of a loyalty program is that you have the permission to track the sales of the acquisitions, the orders from that particular customer. So you can do it in bricks and mortar as well, so it's clear that it makes sense. And if you look at the loyalty program, another, once you have that set up, then you will have so and so customers, you will have good customers, you will have customers which are about to churn, and you will have active customers which are not that good from a lifetime value perspective, and you will have amazing customers. So looking at measuring the density, the revenue components, how much of your revenue is coming from good customers, from amazing customers, and from so and so customers. And looking at these things allows you to look at to also understand how to craft the journey down the line, because you
Mm.
can tweak this type of incentives according to what they do. So mainly it's more like a dance that you have to do. You have to act like a movie director, I mean, if they do
Yeah.
this, then I do that. So you should build these kind of scenarios based on what they've said, what they've bought, what they how long they've been active or inactive, and how many times they've bought. Then you have this permission to build these kind of scenarios. And I'm a big fan of a segmentation method, which is old, but it's still effective and it's still in use by large companies, even as Amazon, because it's the backbone of customer relationship management, which is called RFM: recency, frequency, and monetary value. So with this method RFM, you can do you can group your customers into former best customers, former worst customers, customers that are inactive, but some of them are very good and you might want to reactivate them, or you might want to know what stopped them from continuing to buy from you. And then you have customers which are on the fence, they are about to leave you, but some of them are about to leave you and they are really important, and some of them are about to leave you and they're not that important. And then you have active customers which are old and they are VIPs. We call them the soulmates, right? They have the highest recency, the highest frequency, and the highest monetary scores. And then you have customers that just started to buy from you. They are at the first order, so you might want to do an onboarding journey for them. So I've put this in my book. It's all
Hmm.
here. I don't want to bombard you with information, but fact is that you have the acquisition phase, you have the onboarding phase, then you have the prevention and nurturing phases, and then you have the reactivation phases, right? These are the important phases. And with the RFM, you know what kind of, let's say, campaign or initiative you should be triggering for that customer, right? So
Hmm.
it takes some, let's say, mind work, brain
Yeah.
power, but you once you do it, it works, because the beauty of it is that you can make it evergreen. So if this then that, if this then that, we are building basically software. That's what we built. We've built the software to activate this kind of data. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to learn to program or to learn math. All of those things can be done automatically by technologies, and I'm not claiming that ours is the only technology. There are plenty of technologies out there, but the whole idea is to understand how to do it. And that's why i've I've seen companies struggling with these aspects, and I've decided, no, I have to educate people, educate the companies around these things, and that's why I wrote the
Hmm.
book. I've built an online academy, because uh, the tool is just a part of the sandwich. It's not even the mustard. It's just a
Yeah. Yeah.
slice
Yeah.
of bread.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the metaphor. Yeah. So if I'm hearing that correctly, it's really aligning your segmentation, and I agree with you, segmentation works. Aligning that segmentation with the customer journey in a way that also allows you to prioritize how much attention you give to customers, because if there's customers whose lifetime value that you're projecting is very low versus customers whose lifetime value projected is very high, then clearly you want to place more attention, spend more time and money on
Yeah,
those ones because the return is potentially higher, right?
yeah.
So
And you've stated an important aspect here, Jurgen. The idea is to know this type of, let's say, graph. There is a break even point where if you over deliver, you're starting to lose money. If you under deliver, you lose customers and
mm,
therefore money. So you need to find the optimal point. Where is the point where I provide an outstanding customer experience that still makes me the most profitable, and basically, once you find that through ongoing experimentation, there you go. I mean, we have companies which are doing, for instance, and they do this extra mile, and it's pure information. It's not about providing a gift or commercial discount or stuff like that. They just do their job better than their competitors at onboarding customers. Like, you can buy all sorts of things, but if you don't help the customers to make progress through the brochures, that come with an electronic product, through the
mm,
small booklet which come with the vitamins that you're selling, stating about what to do on top of getting those vitamins, how to exercise, how to sleep, how to eat, how to whatever. So if you do that small extra mile, which is merely pure information that it's so cheap to provide to
yeah.
your customers, then you are way more different than your competitors, and you help the customers make progress. Because let's face it, it's not like if you are not healthy or fit, it's not like you have some pills and you can lay in the bed, in the couch, like a couch potato, and drink beer and eat pizza all day, right? It's about what kind of other things must be done. And if you are the company
Mm,
that provides this kind of knowledge, then you over deliver, and then your customers will maybe continue to buy the products from you and not from a competitor, and will associate you with someone that wants to help them make progress. Because is that I was talking with Brian Eisenberg, a best-selling author in this space, and he was stating that the everyone uh, listen to the same radio station, WIIFM. Like, what's in it for
Yeah.
me? So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you need to understand what's in it for the customer and
Mm.
provide that something so that they can get into the habit of buying from you. It's all about crafting
Mm.
habits
And
to your
yeah,
customers.
and you make a really important point there. And I think onboarding is an area where very few businesses do it well. I've seen one or two, I've had one or two experiences where it's been done really well, but there's so much opportunity. And you gave an example of health supplements, that clearly if somebody's buying a health supplement, they're interested in being more healthy or optimizing their health. So, what else can I give them as a supplier that helps them optimize their health? That requires a change in attitude or a change in lens, right? I've got to look at it as not this customer wants to buy my supplement, it's this customer wants to improve their health. And my supplement, I'm really glad they're buying my supplement because that's going to help them improve their health. But what else can I do to help them improve their health?
Yeah,
So, first of all, I can give them the information, like you said. Secondly, I can engage with them, which will give me some information as to what their experience is and identify some other opportunities. And I think that those few things are something that is an opportunity left on the table by most businesses.
for sure, Jurgen. It's and it's I think this is not happening for many companies due to the fact that most of the market is being trained or brainwashed, depending on how you want to see it, by the likes of Google and Facebook. You know, they have all these uh, training programs. You know, they have these education things about how to do the CTR, how to tweak the clicks, how to whatever, and all the acquisition part is being around pay to play. Is not, and it's,
Mm,
we're heavily leaning towards acquiring customers that some of them
mm,
they never come back. So we have to depending on our business model, let's say if we are paying if we are selling fast moving consumer goods, then we have to understand that onboarding is more important than acquisition, because that means about the coffee thing, you know, the purchase frequency of a coffee
mm,
is around 28. So each customer buy 28 cups of coffee from the same Starbucks. Yeah, but if you are a new entrant, you want to compete with Starbucks, you have to know that besides the fact that they have this brand, they also have this habit that has formed, you know, like they have
mm.
28 cups of coffee per customer. How many do you have? What's the aim? So understanding these mechanics will allow you not to brag about the fact that you're selling coffee, but to tweak the system so that you have customers buying 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 20 cups eventually, so that you can fight these big companies down the line. So at the end of the day, I think it's about the education of the decision makers within those companies, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you are seeing it, this competition, which we are now into a supply world, right? So we have supply for whatever we want to buy, and the demand is not nowhere near. So
Mm.
in such a market, the price goes down as the competition is higher, which means that in order to keep your margin, you have to understand how to keep your customers, not to always
Yeah,
go to pay for acquiring other customers, which
acquiring
means
you. Mm,
retention and acquisition uh, are both, you know, the pedals of the same bike.
mm. Yeah, that's a really important point. And what is it that it's 10 times more expensive to acquire new customers than to
To keep
um,
them. Yeah.
keep keep an existing one, or to sell a new product or a new service to an existing one. Yeah. So it comes back to the experience that they have with you and the relationships you build at some point. Yeah. So, what is you mentioned something there about the trend of kind of increasing supply versus demand. What are other trends should businesses be aware of um, that they need to factor in if they want to stay competitive, particularly in the e-commerce space over the next decade? Because we've got things like um, AI, ChatGPT, and so on coming in and being widely used for
Yeah,
advertising and promotional and social media posts. And we're not quite sure when we see an image, is it real or is it fake?
yeah,
And so,
exactly.
what do businesses need to be aware of?
Yeah, I think the e-commerce companies should be leveraging AI tools more. So basically, it's clear that right now you can do some things which are really helpful. So one thing is the RPA, robotic process automation, which means that you can connect AI with RPA so that you can streamline your operations, which means that if this then that, those could
Mm,
be programmed automatically. So if you have a if you look at this trend, it's about diminishing your decreasing your uh, operations costs, and that's one thing
mm,
that companies should be aware of. Another trend which is happening is this convergence. So I don't think that in e-commerce there will be so many players. If you think about it, back in the 40s, I've uh, uh, I've heard this recently from Warren Buffett stated this. There were 4,000 car makers in the US alone. So now we have like how many? I think there are less than 100 worldwide, like
yeah.
solid car makers. So this convergence is happening. So in order to stay afloat, you have to either niche down and to have this undeniable value that you provide to your customers as an e-commerce company, or to simply go out of the e-commerce. I mean, at some point this business model doesn't work anymore unless you do the things that we've discussed about, profitability, lifetime value, customer experience, stuff like that. So that convergence will happen in the next few years, and I don't think this is a bad thing for consumers. This is a challenge indeed for entrepreneurs and e-commerce leaders. And last but not the least, I'm a big fan of this customer centricity. So the trend which is happening is that more and more companies are, I don't know, are sending thank you notes in the package, are making
Mm,
sure that they follow up properly, they are not bombarding you with discounts right after you've bought. So that means leveraging and paying attention to your customers, it's a trend in itself. And we've built, for instance, for larger companies that are our clients, we've built an NLP solution which is based on large language models like Llama and OpenAI, which processes all the customer feedback. So basically, imagine that you're the leader of a large retailer or e-commerce or health company or whatever. Yeah, you have some levels of management between yourself and the customers. Now you have this translation which can happen on your
mm,
terms instantly through this NLP, because you collect feedback from all the branches, all the stores, all the channels that you're selling through, and you know which are the issues without having, I don't know, 10 people reading all the tickets, reading all the feedback coming from customer experience surveys and so on. So this is another trend as well, to leverage NLP, natural language processing, to know what your customers are pissed off and why they are what they are
mm,
doing. Because the pace. I was reading this the other day. The pace that things are happening nowadays in 2024, every month means 4 months back in 2019. So it's 4 times more dynamic than it was only 5 years ago, and it's 8 times more dynamic than it was in 2010, which means the if you don't change as fast as the market, you'll be left behind as a company. So there is this pace of change that you have to go there, and
yeah.
the game is way more alert. I don't know where this
Yeah.
AI revolution is going to lead us, but it's it's clear
Yeah.
that
And I always say that in all technology, the developments are always exponential. So, if we've come in 4 years, things are take a quarter of the time, then in the next 1 year, they'll probably take another quarter of the time. And then in the next 6 months, it'll be half of that. So it just sort of skyrockets at exponential rate. I think that you highlighted there one of the really powerful uses of some of these large language models, and that's to take a lot of data and consolidate it, look at trends, particularly for verbal feedback. When I say verbal feedback, I mean, comments that people have made rather than a score. They might give a 5-star review, but it's the comments that where the value really lies, and to be able to analyze those and pick out some key themes, I think that's a really good application of the language models.
Yeah, exactly. And and to be honest, I'm excited when I'm looking at the future, and I'm also a bit frightened about what's going on. I mean, where this leads to. I mean, where we will be. I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many implications and consequences, and we don't know when we will become obsolete. You know, as human beings. I mean, there are many
Yeah.
jobs which are now obsolete. I've seen recently the release of
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
GPT.
Well, one of the things I heard, and I mean, I'm very optimistic because the thing is, people that sit back and say this is a big threat to my job. Um, the thing I heard was really interesting and insightful, I thought, and that's um, AI is not going to replace people, but people who know AI will replace other people.
Yeah,
And I
that
thought, yeah,
that
that's
that's for sure. I mean,
it's
yeah, it's clear, and we have to understand these fundamentals, you know, of how to leverage
mm,
these tools. I also have seen something interesting about the advanced people, you know, so the about the people which are using AI versus people which are not using AI. It's clear that they are outpacing them, but when you look at senior people which are using AI versus senior people which are not using AI, the gap is way lower than that. So basically, at the end of the day, you have to become better. I mean, that's
yeah,
if there
yeah,
is a law here, that's it. I mean, you owe it to your future
yeah.
self to become better today.
Excellent. Well, it's a great note to move on to the buzz. I think I really enjoyed the conversation so far, but just watching the time here. So I think both from the time and from that note, it's a really good place to transition to the buzz round, which is our innovation round of 5 questions that I ask every guest. And the idea is you'll give us some really insightful, snappy answers that'll inspire our listener to go and do something awesome as a result today. You all set?
Yep, let's do this.
Okay. What's the number one thing anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
To take a walk, take breaks, and change the environment.
Mm. Yeah, that's. I'm always amazed how that that works out for me because sometimes I have to force myself to do it because if I'm really in the trenches and I don't have time to do that. But yeah, go
Yeah,
outside, take a break, and often come back and I know the answer.
yeah. You have to change the food that you give to your brain, and if you give the same food, I mean, you're there in your laptop and
Yeah.
then you're not gonna make it.
Mm. Excellent. All right. What's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
I've talked to a lot of people. So when we launched OmniConvert, reveal our latest product, I've talked with 300 people. I
Wow.
recorded them, and then I used AI to understand the patterns in what they've said. I've extracted the jobs to be done from them. I mean, what they are struggling with, and
Mm.
then I've built a solution to their problem. You know, to the problem which was not
Mm.
solved. Let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. Yeah, really clever use of AI and the idea of recording interviews and then transcribing that information because it makes it so much easier than just taking notes because you kind of filter a lot out there.
Yeah, you can't process this amount of
Mm,
information. So that's why I love AI, because it's squeezing, you know, the essence out of this,
mm,
and it allows you to see the patterns, because there are, for instance, you can see the keywords which keep on repeating themselves, and the features or the things that they are after, or the pains. So if something repeats itself so often, then that rings a bell to you. But while you are playing, during the match, you don't do this.
Yeah.
I mean, your brain can't process these 300 interviews as the machines can do.
Hmm. That's right. All right. Now, favorite resource that you use most often?
Favorite results?
Resource.
Oh, favorite resource. Yeah. So I'm an avid reader. So Audible, I think it's my favorite resource. I'm reading a lot, and for instance, this morning as well, I'm listening to audiobooks, and I'm taking notes, by the way. So but after
Mm.
that, in the evening, I'm taking notes about what was insightful. I'm journaling, and this helped me a lot, to be honest. So basically, there are I'm now a book author, and I know that I've struggled for 2 years, and I compressed there all my knowledge from the last 17 years of working in e-commerce and retail. And it it's it's so cheap, I mean, a book is so cheap when you think about it. It's the cheapest things on this planet
Mm.
when you look at how much you can do with the knowledge out there. So
Yeah.
uh, reading, learning from people that has walked on the path that you are in, it's an underrated hack.
Yeah, and I love Audible as well. I'm always listening to an audio book or a podcast or something, and I find myself thinking every now and then I should sit down and actually read a physical book every so often, because I find it so convenient to just listen to the book and then go take notes afterwards. Mm. All right, what's the best way to keep a client on track?
To keep a client on track, you need to understand their job to be done. So, what kind of progress they are trying to make. If you know the progress that they are trying to make, then you have to monitor their progress, like a fitness coach. Like, you are here, you should be there. Now you should be doing that. So for that, you need to understand the job to be done, their desired outcome, and the progress that they are making, and to build on top of the, let's say, uh, what they are trying to do, to also double this with the relationship. So people are buying from other people. I mean,
Mm.
human buys from other humans. So that means you have to A, provide the service, the product, the whatever, and B, have a relationship with that human being. And if you do this, you'll keep your customer on track. And to do that, you also can build something depending on what you are selling, right? So if you're selling something which is being used ongoing, like software or whatever, you can have some churn factors. You can understand, you can look at your customers that you're lost, and what caused that churn to happen. And that means you can build this set of churn factors, and then nurture the relationships differently. So you need to understand, if something happens, if that happens, then we'll do that. For instance, if in our case, if our contact person leaves the company, then we build an executive report with their manager. We show them how amazing our software, our products, our services are, and we build a roadmap and a game plan with the next person, and also provide them with insights about what kind of person should they hire from our perspective. So this kind of if this then
Mm.
that are the best way to keep a customer on track.
Yeah, I love that. So you're really using the customer journey map essentially to help keep
Yeah,
them on track. And
exactly.
I like that you emphasize the human relationships aspect to that as well. Excellent. All right. Finally, what's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
uh, the number one thing, imagine a Venn chart where you have what you are doing, what you're selling, right? What is your product, service offering? Then it's another circle overlapping with what the customer wants. And then there's another circle which means what the competitors are offering, right? So basically, when everything is connected, that means the customers want it, your competitors offer it, you offer it as well. But If you look at what your competitors are offering and what the customers need and what you're not offering, that means the points of parity. So that means you have to provide that as well. So in order to differentiate yourself, you should be going into that territory where you are not. That's great if you are offering something that they need and you have only you as a company and the customer has this overlap. That's amazing. But if there is something that the customers need and it's not yet covered by the competitors nor by you, and they value this a lot, then that's the thing you need to be doing. So in order to do that, to differentiate, imagine this Venn diagram, but you have to talk with your customers. So the best
Mm,
thing that you can do is to do customer research that is statistically significant, revealing the most struggles, the most important struggles that your customers are in, and revealing those and crafting a solution to that is the best way to differentiate yourself. There could be a lot of things that are not important for your customers and nobody's covering. But if you find the most important pain that nobody's solving, then there you go. That's your territory.
yeah, excellent. Well, there's a bit of mapping work to be done there as well. So, but it's a great explanation. Thanks for that. Thanks for getting us through the buzz round. Now, where can people find out more about you, about OmniConvert, about your book? And I think it's still in pre-order, right? So,
Yeah,
where
it's
they
it's
can.
now published, so it's now the
Oh, it
printed
is now
version is
published.
published, and we are about to launch the audiobook in just a few weeks. I mean, I think we are 2 weeks away from having the audiobook as well. So you can find it on Amazon, of course. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn person. I'm trying, but not always managing to post every day. And yeah, you can find more about OmniConvert at omniconvert.com, or you can check out our CVO Academy if you're interested about this. We are basically we are on this mission to provide this knowledge and to have more pioneers in the space of customer value optimization. This is a thing that will become very important. It's going to be a vital thing in the whole growth mix of a company.
Excellent. All right. And as usual, we'll have all those links in the show notes so people can click straight through. So thanks again for being on the show. Finally, before we wrap it up, Valentin, what action would you like our listener to take from our conversation today?
Yeah, if there is only one action, it's going to be that to track customer lifetime value and to understand why is not as they want it to be. So if you don't measure it, if you're not doing any initiative towards customer lifetime value, you're doing it wrong. And the first step and the most important one is to look at the customer feedback. So track things like what's the customer experience, what most of our best customers are complaining about, why they are buying from us, and so on. So at the end of the day, it's if you want to be profitable, monitor lifetime value, monitor things like NPS, and then take action on fixing that.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah, excellent. Very clear call to action and really focused in on customer lifetime value, and that gives opportunities, particularly if you get that feedback and if you pay attention to what customers are saying, that gives opportunities for improving um, the optimizing customer value, as we've been talking about. Well, thanks so much, Valentin. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. All the best for the future, and please do stay in touch.
Super. We'll do that. Jürgen, thanks a lot for having me, and thanks everyone for listening.